Hi everyone, welcome to this week's vlog. I have actually pulled all my garlic. So we're at the end of June, coming towards the end of June. And last year I pulled my winter sown garlic earlier than this because it was so dry and they were going yellow, they had rust. This year I planted the garlic in October, so it was earlier than the year before, and I grew them all under mesh, fine mesh, because I have a problem with allium leaf miner here. I also chose beds that I knew hadn't had alliums in it for the last few years, because the pupa of the allium leaf miner survives in the soil over winter. So if you try growing alliums in the same bed again, even if you have mesh on, they'll crawl up from the soil and infect your crop. So I read on the courgettes website that you can keep them off with mesh, and it has worked, I'm happy to say. So I've grown both garlic and elephant garlic on my plot, and I've grown a lot of garlic, like a lot. So we almost managed to, even though I had allium leaf miner on the garlic harvest last year, I did manage to get enough that it almost lasted us 10 months before we ran out. The cloves weren't that big, but I think that's more to do maybe with, that was a helicopter, maybe more to do with the dry conditions of last spring. I'll just have a break. Yeah, so the bulbs were quite small, but that I think was mainly to do with the dryness. So the damage from the allium leaf miner is mainly on the foliage, meaning that it will hamper the growth of the plant, but also it goes down into the bulb, and the larvae make little paths, you know, and it damages the bulb, and basically it allows the opportunistic allium white rot to set in. So you're more likely to see, if you have a crop that is full of rot, it's very likely that you had allium leaf miner damage earlier in the year, and that's what's happened. It's not that you just have the rot. So that was, I think, what used to be the case years ago before the allium leaf miner took hold in this country. That if you have the white rot, you know, it was pretty bad. But I find, you know, I've got white rot here, and if I grow them without the leaf miner damage, it's not a big problem. So I'll show what the part of the harvest looked like this year. So I'm drying the garlic in the greenhouse. I haven't set it up properly yet, but this is French red garlic, and when I pulled them up they were all pink, but as I have peeled them, you can see the peel there, I peel off the outer layer, and you can go quite far in. So any kind of damage that I saw in the skin, I removed another layer, because if you leave that there, it risks then becoming a problem when you try to dry them and store them. And this pinkness has actually already developed a bit more overnight. So when you peel them, the red garlic will be white underneath this outer layer, but as it dries it'll go all pink. So don't worry, you'll get your pink bulbs if that's what you've grown. This is soft neck, meaning that it's all soft here and it's quite easy for plating, and it does store better than hard neck garlic. So the other thing I do is to trim the roots, and I leave the plant on, and you can see how green it is, right? I haven't left it to wait for it to go all yellow, because then you risk waiting too long, especially if it's wet in the ground like it is now. And by leaving the plant, the green on, you allow as much of the goodness to go into the bulb as possible. So it's the same sort of idea with ornamental bulbs, right? You leave the foliage on, and this is so that it stores better. It will store better if you let them dry with it on. Later on you can remove that when it's all dry, or you can plate it up. So most of the harvest was good and quite nice size bulbs. They were one or two what I suspect are mono bulbs, where they haven't split into cloves. I'm not sure I can find them now. and some are small. So the small ones are fine and will be good to eat. But if you're going to grow your own garlic from your own harvested garlic next year, you make sure you save a big one and grow from that. I also had a few split ones, and the split ones I can show you on the elephant garlic. The split means that it's showing the cloves are coming out of the skin, and this means it will store much less well. And this is a big risk this year because of the wet spring we had. So if you've had a lot of water coming down on your plot, you know, I would have a look at your garlic as soon as possible. Don't wait too long. And these are already going a bit yellow now. These were harvested a bit longer. So monobulbs. Let's switch you around. So monobulbs. Among the elephant garlic, I planted 9 cloves, and of those 9, 2 turned out to not split. And the reason why, I think, is it hasn't been exposed to enough cold, and it's the same with regular garlic. They need a period of cold to encourage them splitting into cloves. So, but you don't need to despair, because by all accounts, planting these monobulbs in autumn will lead to a ginormous bulb forming with cloves next year. So I'm excited to try that. So I have 2 of the elephant garlic to do, and then of this lot of garlic I got, I think, 2 monobulbs, so I can try it with those 2. The difference between elephant garlic and regular garlic is size, right? And on a genetic level, the elephant garlic is more related to leeks than the garlic. And while you get massive cloves in the elephant garlic, they're much, much milder than the regular garlic. And it also stores less well. Maybe more like a hardneck variety of garlic. So I guess people don't grow loads and loads of elephant garlic, but I guess that's up to what you feel like and what it tastes like. So I haven't grown it before, so we'll see what I think. And maybe I'll increase my quota of elephant garlic for next year. They're quite expensive to buy, but once you get in the habit of growing your own, obviously you can keep as many as you want and just increase your supply each year. So this is actually only less than half of my garlic that I've grown this year. So I have grown way too much. So I went on Frenchy Seeds websites last year and got a bit excited, and they have these selection packs of French garlic and English garlic, and I can't remember how many you got in each, and I don't even know if I checked. I was just like, well, I'm having both of them. And I think it was 9 or 12 bulbs of garlic with loads of cloves in them. So this lot I grew last year, and I knew it was a good variety for here, so I knew they would be good. And I planted them a week earlier than my other lot that is still in the ground. And of this, right, I got a lot of nice size bulbs, and then I got 2 of the monobulbs, and then I got maybe 5 or 6 small that were quite small bulbs, and then I had 3 that were rotten, where they just sticks in the ground, and I think about 4 that were split. So I think that's a good indicator that I got these out in time. And as I planted them earlier than the other lot, I think I'll wait a few more days to get the other lot out. But yes, so I have a lot of garlic. I mean, we managed to be almost self-sufficient of garlic last year, and I think we have no problems of being self-sufficient this year. And I can definitely plant from my own supply, which is quite exciting, which is something I've never done before. And by all accounts, you'll get a much better crop if you save your own bulbs or cloves for planting. And again, it's because they are used to growing in your environment and your soil microbes and all that, so they should have a much easier time of it, especially if you choose one of your largest ones to grow on from. Anyway, I'll show you what the garlic is looking like that I still have growing in the bed. Oh, and as always, if you think what I'm saying resonates with you or you like what I'm doing, please hit the thumbs up on this video, because it all really helps. So actually I found my rotten ones. So that's what they look like. So one of them has got a bulb formed and the other one not so much. So I guess it depends on when the rot got in. So, but I had a much higher percentage of them rotting last year, so I'm pretty happy with that. But yeah, the current ones are still out and they're still under their mesh and they're still looking very green. So let's see. So this is the greenhouse, and then we have the flowers here, and under here next to the gorgeous sweet peas and the broad beans is the garlic. So yeah, I mean, it doesn't go all the way up, but it finishes there maybe. So, and there's 3 rows in there. So yeah, there's a lot. Right, let's see if we can get in there. And it looks like I've done a very successful job at growing bindweed as well. So last year there was corn in here, sweet corn, and I've just left them in because they take an age to break down so that you can actually get them out. And the stumps have been quite useful for insects and stuff like that, beneficial insects. So I did plant one at the end here, which it looks thinner, but we can pull one of these out. So because it's been so wet, I can actually pull them out, and this, you know, it comes out looking like this. Let's see if we can set you down here. So basically, just pull this down. This looks like a monobulb. Definitely not ready. And you see the pink is here, so this is another pink variety. And I will pull one more layer. There we go. Sorry if if you got out of the camera there. So anyway, now we'll just trim the roots and then dry that. So this is a monobulb, so it doesn't have any cloves in it. I might have one here, but I'll definitely be keeping this then for planting next year. So if you don't want to pull them up, you know, it's a good idea to have a dig around. So let's have a dig. Let's see what else we can find on here. Because you want to check that they are ready to be pulled out rather than just pulling. Okay, all right. That's bloody clay soil. Ugh. Yeah, so they all look like, also like a monobulb, right? It's all smooth and no, I can't feel the cloves, so I'm definitely gonna have to leave this lot a while longer. And from looking at the greenness of them, it's not even much of yellowing going on, so I would say, yeah, they definitely need more time, which is interesting. So as you can see, there's no rust on my garlic this year. So that's another thing. I had rust on all my garlic last year, and it sort of forced me to harvest it sooner maybe than I wanted to, right? And this year, no rust. I don't know if growing them under mesh has protected them somehow from that, because I think that's sort of something that's inevitable. That's always around. It's an airborne issue that arrives, you know, like a fungal thing. But maybe having them under mesh has kept them off. However, I've noticed now a lot of these have got scapes on them. Even the one I pulled, couldn't even see it to start with. You know, flower heads. They're completely edible, but it's not a good sign if they're on your soft neck garlic. Though, yeah, no, it is soft neck. So that's a bit of a worry, and I can see there's quite a few of them now. Yeah, so you see that I have one there, there's one there, there's another one there. So yeah, so maybe I sowed these too late then. Oh, that's a shame. Oh well, maybe I don't have enough garlic. But yeah, I mean, so they're all bolting, or let's pull this one out. Yeah, but this again hasn't split into cloves, so I definitely they need more time. So either it's a timing issue, and I can try to take all the scapes off and see if they will develop any further, but I am a little bit worried about that. Well. And I was so pleased with my garlic harvest this year. I mean, I should be pleased. There's probably plenty of garlic that I've got there already in the greenhouse. You don't really need this lot as well, but at least I'll have plenty of monobulbs to plant. And by the looks of it, lots of scapes to pick and eat. They are delicious, by the way, and I kind of want to grow hardneck garlic next year, because I harvested the scapes off the elephant garlic and they were so good, just like flash fried in some olive oil and just had with pasta in a pasta dish, you know, just so good. But yeah, so I'll cover up my garlic again. I'll talk a bit more about how I'm gonna dry them. So now I got a little bit unsure whether it is soft neck or hard neck that I grew. I'm gonna have to look in my archives, but it's a bit of a worry because soft neck only produces scapes when they're stressed. And yeah, and we've had some odd weather this year, I must say. We had very cold, and then it was very dry, and then it was very wet, so a little bit worried about it. But yeah, I guess we'll catch up on this in a later vlog when I've harvested them. But yes, let's talk about drying. So drying is best done in a ventilated shed or a greenhouse, but you don't want the greenhouse or the shed to get, you know, over 30 degrees really. So that can be tricky in the summer in a greenhouse, of course, because if you're not here to open the door, it can quite easily get over to 50 degrees, you know, and that's not great for garlic. So, you know, garlic should be should be dried in a monolayer, well ventilated, you know, but not everyone has that kind of space. So one good way to use your greenhouse shelving when you're not in use, upside down drying of garlic is excellent, and onions and stuff like that, right? So it fits really well like that. And if you have space to put them like this, just hanging like this to dry, perfect. However, last year I just dried them like that, and I turned them ever so often, you know, to make sure that they didn't that they dried evenly, and it worked fine. So if you don't have that kind of space, don't worry about it. But I'm gonna try and set it up in the best way, and especially now if I have lost half of my crop of the other garlics. I did remember though that the ones down at that end, so there's I think 3 different varieties in that bed, so I might need to go up along the line and check them all. Okay, so it might just be this variety that is producing scapes and have not produced the bulbs. You never know. But anyway, let's just have a quick look at the greenhouse. Right, so we're in the tomato greenhouse, and yeah, things are happening. Though I found some footage from last year, and golly, we are behind. So I just go through every day and keep twisting them about, my support here. And if I have the time, I might flick a few of the flowers. So I don't know if you've heard the news, but have a really quite dramatic decline in pollinators this year. So you might struggle to get your crops pollinated. And yeah, that's a worry. So I try to go in and do them, right? So these, you might see on your tomatoes, these mega blooms. So they're basically just fused flowers. So tomato flowers usually only have a set number of flower petals. But this quite often happens to beefsteak tomatoes. And it will form a fruit usually that is pollinated. That is a really odd shape. However, in my opinion, they take forever to ripen, and I feel like they prevent other fruit, regular shaped fruit, from forming and ripening on the plant. So I tend to snip them off. But you know, you can do what you want. That's just how I like to do it. The other thing to look out for, obviously, are the little shoots coming in here. So all tomatoes will grow like a bush if you let it. But in a greenhouse, especially when I've planted them this close to each other, it's just not a good idea to let them do that. So I think here we have quite a large one. Yeah. So I find them easy to do at this size because they just easily snap off with my fingers. And yeah, the chilies are doing okay. Even this one, Apple Crisp, I thought was dying, is actually producing flowers now. So yeah, I mean, look at it, it's just awful looking. And I got my marigolds in and they're flowering, and the basil, tiny little basil. So yes, everything's so behind this year. Yeah, but I've got some stuff planted outside. The last week's vlog I talking about, you know, getting my priorities right, and the priority finally fell to the squash, and they have been planted out. So I've put them in my mulched grassy paths to make use of the space, basically. So here they are, and underneath here was quite a lot of bindweed, but the turf was dead or dying. So I removed all the bindweed. The roots are like white, and you know then that it's still alive. And then I mounded up some homemade compost in little mounds along here, and then made hole through it, and I planted in my winter squash. So this is Crown Prince winter squash, and I got a few different varieties, and I've got another row here. So the added benefit of the black plastic, as well as keeping the weeds down, is that it creates warmth in the sun, which obviously the squash loves, especially on a day like today where it's overcast. It's actually quite toasty around here. Obviously I'm very late at planting out my squash this year. They were much bigger last year at this point, but you know, what can you do? That's the way it is. And there's a mulch too here, and then next here I've got my courgettes. So they're also, I got the same treatment. They were planted out a few days later though. So there we go. And the outdoor tomatoes are not growing much now that it's cooled down a bit in temperature, but a lot of peas. A lot of peas. But yes, it definitely is summer now because the strawberries are all coming in all at once. So, yeah, there's quite a lot. So I'm obviously growing a lot of bindweed in here as well, but there's a lot of strawberries coming, and it's just a matter of keeping up. I haven't actually netted them properly this year, and it seems to be okay. I guess we just have so many that the ones that the birds take is just not really a problem. I find I have to pick them when they're a little bit whiter or less ripe, maybe, because otherwise the slugs will just get them, or something will get them, and they're sweet enough like this, I'd say. So I'm gonna leave you with an image of me eating strawberry, and I'll catch you next week.